Yes, you know, when you come after a professor, you make a good impression. You know, when you see in AlaIgbo Stabilization Fund, Professor Sitobu, this matter. My all can call maka economy on the southeast of Nigeria. My name is AlaIgbo. I'm the group managing director of AfroInvest. AfroInvest is an investment bank based in Lagos with offices in Onitsha, Port Harcourt, Abuja as well. You know, focused on asset management, investment research, securities brokerage, and investment banking. My presentation is in 3 sections. I take a quick look at the snapshot of the Nigerian economy today and the economic impact of COVID-19. Then I move on to Southeast Nigeria to look at the macroeconomic overview. The end is there with opportunities, you know, growth opportunities in a post-COVID world. You know, seminar I met today in the future. How do we adjust to the world we are today? In Nigeria now, this is based on 2020 data. Our GDP had to go to just $470 billion. In Naira, put at 178 trillion Naira. Population growth can go at 2.6% per annum, and we're estimated to have 206 million people. Life expectancy very low at just 54 years. So that is a quick snapshot of the Nigerian economy. But if you think about the COVID, since the beginning of COVID-19, every March this year, we have all seen that a weaker trade due to lower oil prices and a shutdown of economic activities with our trading partners. Remittances are notable from Unu and Unu Binobodoebo, Odagoku, because you know you guys are also affected by the weakened economic environment. So the remittances which used to support the Nigerian economy has also reduced by an estimated 20 to 25% this year. At the same time, you know, and foreign portfolio investors, shares and bonds on the stock market. Hey, Egohani in Nigeria, looking for areas that will be safer, because on Nigeria as a place, do okay when the oil price is high, but once oil price goes down, they all carry their money and run. So the fact now, a guy and water from oil nada, a guy and water from remittance nada. Meanwhile, for the mobile guy and water from Ndine speculative investment in the Nigerian capital markets now as well, has put a lot of pressure on our exchange rate. So if we're gonna external reserve on Yadago, Canada, and then today the central bank is struggling to maintain the value of the Naira. And I think Naira to dollar, they're losing now almost 500 Naira to $1. While at the beginning of this year, equal more than 360, some of the Amagola. This whole thing, these weaker external conditions has led to what I call the deteriorating fiscal conditions. So lower oil prices means, you know, export is weaker, lower non-oil revenue, because in the company that oil, they too are feeling the pinch and their own business has come down. We also have seen higher borrowing. Government of Nigeria was in every anafuego without hard work. Even our own book called KLM and since we don't have any diversified economy, they've gone a borrowing, and today about debt service to revenue is so high, there's almost 80% relative to the amount of revenue we're having. So there's serious pressure on what about debt sustainability. This has all led to economic shutdown, reduced labor hours, you know, many companies struggling without cash flow. And of course, it has a direct implication on individuals and households. Many companies have laid off their staff because of COVID-19. And as a consequence, created more economic misery. And I'm not going to recession now. If we're going to data in the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics work that last weekend goes in Nigeria but go officially into recession, because I will go 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, weaker economic growth, increasing unemployment, and of course, higher consumer prices. In fact, currently inflation is above 14.5% in Nigeria, with food inflation near almost 18%, causing most of that problem. In the the overall GDP picture of Nigeria, I estimate, that is AfroInvest, based on our analysis with NBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and the IMF in the and I thought that the economic contraction this year will kill up to 3%, and then minus 2.9%, which would translate to about $13 billion of contraction, or almost 5 trillion naira, which would disappear from the Nigerian economy. That's why all of us are feeling poorer this year than we were last year. But in a post-COVID world, I will have to live in a more decentralized manner, and we are socially distant, but find a way to connect. COVID. Previously in 2019, I wouldn't have a conference, and I onye ga-abịa London at his own expense ka ọ bịa n'elu unu. But Kita ọ na-aka mma na anyị nọ buying without spending money. We can connect and speak to everybody. Onye ọbụla agbalụ onwe ụlọ. So onye kwụrụ aka, because remote working has gained prominence. Many countries and many companies now will realize, and was there lockdown, borders are closed, all your essential supplies within your own country. So about my food or my medicine, when COVID was really hitting us very bad, we found that we were asking Airpeace, Alan Onyema, to fly his plane to China or India to pick up medicine for Nigeria, because the ones that we used to have, normally we just enter plane and go to Dubai or India for medical treatment, but nobody wanted us to come. But importantly, schooling from home is also becoming more mainstream, as you can see online courses and online teaching. Although with COVID, all our fear for certain industries, aviation got more difficulty coming back. Many hospitality businesses will have some challenges globally, although in Nigeria, many of them are already beginning to gain momentum. But importantly, in the entertainment world, if we go to a lot of Nollywood, a lot of all these musical superstars are having challenges because they are not getting as many bookings as they used to get. So when you look at this, is the overall picture of Nigeria. The Southeast economic environment. And just for a quick comparison, in AlaIgbo, we talk about 7 states, including Delta and Rivers, Njenje, Anambra, Imo, Abia, Ebonyi, na Enugu. But in my choosing what data and statistics, now tells many databases are there where enough information, and given the short time, I wasn't able to add the data for Delta State and River State to my analysis. But let's just use this as a proxy. And of course, this data, I have to apologize, is a bit dated. It's based on 2018 information. So population in the 5 Southeast states put out 23.2 million. This population excludes easily another 12 million or 13 million will be outside of the Southeast states, be in Nigeria or be outside of the Southeast states, like in Lagos and Abuja or Kaduna and Kano. The total GDP of the 5 states come to 9.7 trillion naira, with 40.8% of youth comprising a population of 23.2%. If we go into the breakdown of the population, with Anambra, Anambra having the highest population, followed by Imo, then Abia, followed by Imo, then Enugu, then Abia State, and then Ebonyi in terms of population. When you look at GDP, Imo are quite high, but some of those data is something we need to check and refine. But if you look at the composition of the Southeast economy, services comprises 73%. Services will include all the trading that we do. Commerce and industry, we don't have enough of it. We're only doing 900 billion naira, comprising only 9%. Agriculture is 12%, which is critical. And there's a little bit of oil industry, which has not been fully exploited, 600 billion. But they compare the total economy of the Southeastern states, 9.7 trillion, the GDP against the entire budget of all the 5 Southeastern states. If we are running at roughly 9% of of GDP. That tells you that government will have very little impact. Government is important, but actually they don't have enough economic weight. It is the activities of the citizens that create much of the wealth for them in the state. If we dig deeper into the service components of the economy, phone, telecoms, education, trade, and financial institution is also quite important. In trade, that consists of the highest percentage in the services sector at 44%. Financial institutions come to 17.6%. Education, 13.2%. I'm in school, well. And telecoms contributing 10.3%, and the others, including healthcare, at 14.7%. So it tells you that when you want to drive the economy, you need to look at the areas that will have the biggest bang for your buck. And if you think about the Southeast, the biggest bang will be probably definitely something that impacts on trade and things that impact on, if I look at this previous area, commerce and industry and agriculture. Oil industry, to the large extent, because it is tied to the Iwundi Nigeria as we're in our constitution, because it's tied to the federal government exclusive list. It is less, we are less able to control our fortunes within that industry than in other areas. Then the last section of my intervention, but in the future, what are the growth opportunities in a post-COVID world? And I just have a few, I looked at it from 4 perspectives, which is, to government when they refocus on their fiscal arrangements. Then from there, they can think about building human capital development aggressively, focus on building on a digital ecosystem, and last but not the least, focus on industrialization. If you think about those 4 pillars, if they can one by one, when you think about refocusing on fiscal arrangements, one of the things that we would be helpful upon all the various governments to create realistic budgets with reasonable revenue estimates. Many times they will announce big budgets with massive deficits in the budget. Deficit, but here plan is spend in a budget, carry ego hang and what that year. Was there the difference, deficit? But on the deficit, a source, you borrow the money or 4 alternative sources of that income. It means that most of your budget is not practicable and it cannot be implemented. But year on year, if government are better announce the budget, so part of that problem is that road, Enugu to Uguoba Road, cost 5 billion naira. In the old road, the express is still giving us difficulty. But if budget there, it may announce a budget, but also 1 billion after that year, at that road. It means that if you're putting only 1 billion every year, it takes you 5 years to build that road. If you add all the activity going back and forth on that road would never ever feel like it has been built, and further frustrating the citizen. Money, new after 5 billion, lower that road amount of Kulugo. And lawyer in a way, no, we can last 10, 20 years without any breaking, any problems. Another thing I got in terms of focusing our plan, resetting the economy of Southeast, is removing subsidies and reducing leakages. And in equal subsidies, or they call of federal government with subsidies, but many state governments have built-in subsidies into their structure, including political subsidies and other for Anya. I know some states where the past 1 or 2 governors, all of them plus their family and relations are still being sponsored by the state government, imposing a massive drain on the resources of that state. Plus the state in Wakwano, some bloated ambitions, if actually now they're pragmatic and they spend they go on that one. So that, if you think about it rationally and pragmatically, then there's opportunity to free up cash flow and divert it in needed sectors, by focusing on what makes biggest impact for the most number of people. But importantly, in this age and time, we need to focus our energies more on education and healthcare and infrastructure. Those 3 are the most critical areas of government. If you don't have enlightened and educated human beings who are healthy, you don't have human capital. You end up just having human beings. If you have healthy and educated human beings, you then have a human capital to then leverage on all the other opportunities that the world presents to us today. And last but not least is to think of how to expand fiscal buffers. I know many states are still sitting on very choice government assets that are moribund, they are not functioning, which are attractive to investors, but they don't want to let go of those assets. So you then have opportunities to revive, to attract money into the state, but for reasons of just organizational inertia, let me just say, it's not able to move forward. I happen to be the chairman of the Technical Committee on Privatization and Commercialization for Enugu State for over 8 years, and I know how much effort we've put into trying to privatize and commercialize many government assets, which have just been blocked by government inertia. So the next aspect of resetting the economy in Southeast Nigeria is to try and build a digital ecosystem. In this age and time, government should really focus on digitalizing the economy, putting policies that will foster a stronger ecosystem. Thinking of automating government operations and processes. The less cash government is collecting, if they can make sure that everything is going into the bank account directly, and using this opportunity of the single treasury single account, TSA, it makes for greater efficiency in government. Governor El-Rufai na-agwa m when he reorganized the tax office in Kaduna, or chọpụta na one boy bụ a na-akpọ messenger na the tax office, that he had 5 homes in Dubai. Meanwhile, the boy doesn't have any official job except like he's just a messenger pushing paper up and down. By the time he retrained everybody and put in the systems and processes, half of the people in tax office in Kaduna resigned because they could not make the kind of money they've been stealing. There. And that system persists, I imagine, across many of the states in Southeast Nigeria. Then you should, from there, build an ecosystem that attracts tech companies to incubate talent for onward supply. Ekwubugo maka remote working and online education. In this age and time, I na-afụ anyị na-enwe a lot of brain drain. Ndị be anyị gụcha akwụkwọ achọghị iji ọkpa gafee Sahara Desert, ọ ndị ga-enwe kweta visa banye plane jebe obodo oyibo ka ha nweta ọrụ ebe ahụ. But a lot of countries obodo oyibo na-achọkwa inye employment ndị dị ready directly in their homes. Enwere staff ndị na-alụrụ m ọrụ from IT companies. Many of them, they earn money from overseas because they're working for Israeli companies, Estonian companies, American companies, right from here in Nigeria. And there's a huge opportunity to build an ecosystem where we train our young men and women to know how to program computers, mecha ihe niile a na-eme na computer. Nọdụkwanụ weteze ha internet access. Etu anyị si akpa nkata, they will stay at home and be doing the work, and they will be getting their own dollars, which is even better than waiting for their cousin in Houston to send it. They'll be getting their own monthly, every month, in any bank account of their choice. And that's a huge opportunity for that. And to support it will be to build the broadband penetration and infrastructure to connect everybody. Ima also often echekwa dịka ọ bụ dịka MTN siko na ọ chọrọ itinye broadband fiber. Many local governments will be fighting them to tax them, 10,000 naira per meter because they want to collect money from MTN, not realizing that by the time they put in the fiber, it creates a huge opportunity for the citizenry to do, e-commerce, e-learning, e-health. A lot of electronic things can be done at a much cheaper cost and at much higher efficiency. Ekwubugo maka human capital development, I cannot say enough on that one. We need to domesticate Nigeria's second, well, somebody was making Kunokwa the largest export I went today, not the second largest, because oil price had gone, okay, the Bakukwana, okay, oil no, about $60, $70 per barrel. But when oil falls around $40 per barrel, it then means that it is the remittances from Nigerians in diaspora that is the greater component of foreign exchange this country needs. That means that our biggest export is actually human beings who have gone abroad and are providing intellectual capacity to many foreign companies and remitting money home. But if we can think of domesticating it, we don't have to have our people leave our country to go abroad and earn dollars. There's a huge opportunity for them to stay in Nigeria and earn the dollars and do the work. And the Woluzenega ne dozo obodo, kakulo no. That will need for us to leverage technology to deliver education and healthcare services to the population and create more incentives for private sector investments into the sectors of healthcare and education, because that is the fulcrum. In what a very strong quality human capital. From there, you can move on to the infrastructure to support it. And then it goes on and on like that. A good country to look at is Rwanda as an example. And the whole of Rwanda up to half of Southeast Nigeria in terms of GDP. So if you think of us as a nation, we actually have, I would say 3 to 4 times the capacity of Rwanda. It's just a question of organizing ourselves better as a group of people. And then last but not the least is industrialization. But industrialization is not just to go and build industry anywhere. We used, Michael Akbarabon, Premier of Southeast Nigeria, we had industrial estates and zones like Emene Industrial Estate. These are well-planned places where the company can just set up manufacturing. And from there, which are synergies, efficiencies to bring them. And in Ekwanya, as a result of the FML with COVID-19, many global companies have realized that it is not very smart for them to put all their eggs in one basket, which is locate all their industries in China or in India. Because in what another problem, and that area blocker, it means that there are no other places. They are stuck. In this Ekwanya, there will be, today many companies are looking for where can we find cheap labor that is talented, and there's a huge opportunity for that. We can organize ourselves to start building free trade zones to attract manufacturing. Access to the sea, but we have enough deep rivers, and ultimately we'll be able to dredge 1 or 2 that will connect Abgodi, Aba, or Umahia. There are 1 or 2 places, even on Njenje port. It's just a question of dredging that river all the way to where Onitsha is. If we can create industrial zones with free trade zones and put manufacturing in an organized manner, there's a huge opportunity to start manufacturing many of the things that are being imported into Nigeria. And by manufacturing locally, we are creating employment and also expanding the possibility of other companies to join forces on it. So lastly, expanding the infrastructure, streamline processes to reduce the cost and time. And all of this would then lead to a more virtuous arrangement, in terms of how we pivot out of COVID-19 and use the lessons of this pandemic to build a better society in AlaIgbo. This comes to the end of my presentation.